Again, I was very, very surprised to see this trade that happened between the Philadelphia Eagles and Buffalo Bills. It just seemed to kind of come out of nowhere. There was some thought maybe that Shady McCoy wouldn't be with the Eagles in 2015, but it wasn't like it was a prevalent rumor. It wasn't something that was talked about a whole lot. And there most certainly wasn't a whole lot of scuttlebutt or buzz about this trade going on between the Eagles or Bills, or that the Bills had any inclination at all of trading a young defensive star like a Kiko Alonzo. So with that said, I've already talked about my thoughts on this trade from the Philadelphia Eagles perspective. Now I'm trying to look at it from the Buffalo Bills perspective. I can understand this trade for the Buffalo Bills for several reasons. First, McCoy is definitely an upgrade for that Bills running game. No offense to Fred Jackson and free agent running back C.J. Spiller, but LeSean McCoy is just better. And most certainly an upgrade. And with a new head coach and Rex Ryan coming in, with a similar offensive philosophy in terms of wanting to pound the ball, pound the rock, like you had under former coach Doug Marrone, LeSean McCoy represents a big, significant upgrade for a Buffalo Bills offense that frankly needed it. It's also a bit of a statement, too, to that organization, to that city, to that fan base, that this team is going in and they want to win now, and they believe that they can be a playoff team in 2015. If they didn't think they were going to be a playoff team in 2015 with a new head coach in Rex Ryan, they probably wouldn't have made this deal for LeSean McCoy. And as a result, with questions at the quarterback position, you have to load up maybe in other areas. They definitely loaded up by bringing in LeSean McCoy. The good thing for the Bills was they had the cap room to be able to facilitate this deal. They had the cap space to be able to absorb McCoy's larger contract to be able to bring in this type of star. And when you look at the fact that this Buffalo Bills defense in 2014 was better without Kiko Alonzo, who was out due to his major knee injury, his ACL tear, than they were in 2013 when he was a Defensive Rookie of the Year candidate on the inside. How much are the Buffalo Bills really missing out on here? Was Kiko Alonzo a bit of a luxury for them and a luxury they could afford to live without? Was his 2013 production due in part to the defensive talent around him? I think that's something that not enough people are talking about. I'm not saying that Kiko Alonzo isn't a very talented player. He is. I'm not saying he doesn't have the potential to be a long-term star in the NFL, because he does have that type of potential. But you have to look at the fact that the Bills' defense was even better last season than they were in 2013. And he was there in 2013 and not there at all in 2014, combined with the fact that Alonzo's coming off of a major knee injury, an ACL tear. While he's had plenty of time to recover, you never know how guys can come back from that. They were top flight without him. He was a luxury. And a luxury maybe that they felt they could afford to part with because of the fact that we're bringing in a defensive-minded head coach like Rex Ryan. Maybe there was some concern or question about how he was going to fit in terms of what Rex Ryan wants to do on the defensive side of the ball. So there are things I understand about this from the Bills' perspective, but it just wouldn't be the Bills if I didn't question some of the things that they do. You're talking about a Shady McCoy who, as I talked about in the Eagles video, is already going to be 27 this year. That carries a big cap figure. Are you really that close to winning? Are you really that close to contending? Where bringing in this type of guy really made a whole lot of sense. I mean, was running back really that big of a need? Couldn't you have saved some money by keeping Fred Jackson and re-signing C.J. Spiller? Couldn't those guys have gotten the job done for you at least for another year or two? And if you wanted a running back so bad, if you're the Buffalo Bills, why not just draft one? This is a class that everyone acknowledges is deep and loaded at the running back position. If you wanted a running back, why not get a younger and cheaper alternative and get them anywhere between rounds 2 to 4, where you would have been able to do that this year? And if you're going to try and trade Kiko Alonzo because he's a bit of a luxury for you, why not try to accumulate some additional draft pick currency, especially knowing that you're without a first and fourth round pick this year because of the Sammy Watkins deal? Why would you sit there and not try to get additional picks out of this? Why sit there and get a Shady McCoy? Yeah, I'm talking about them trying to draft a running back in the fourth round. I don't even believe they have that fourth round pick because that went over to the Cleveland Browns. Why not try to sit there and get a third round pick for Kiko Alonzo and a fourth round pick, or maybe a second round pick and a fourth round pick? Why not try to get some draft pick currency for a player that frankly is a luxury that's no guarantee of coming back to the same level coming off of a major knee injury? And what I don't understand from a player and financial standpoint is why trade a younger, cheaper defensive star for an older, more expensive offensive player when you are still light years away from legitimately contending for a Super Bowl? You build championship teams through the NFL draft, in part because of the continuity that brings and the cost savings that brings, both short term and long term, by having guys in your same program for several years. Trading away one of your better draft picks over the past several years for a guy that maybe, you never know, has seen his best time and had his numbers inflated a little bit the last 2 years by the system that the Philadelphia Eagles run just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. When I look at this deal, I think this is the Bills trying to, kind of give in to Rex Ryan and give Rex Ryan what he wants. They want to make sure that this Rex Ryan hiring works. They want to make sure that Rex Ryan is set up to succeed, at least the way they feel. And they viewed Kiko Alonzo as a luxury, no guarantee of coming back, knowing also that he had some off-the-field baggage coming from his time in college. There were concerns maybe long-term whether or not this guy was going to keep his head on straight, what have you, I don't know. And maybe they thought LeSean McCoy was going to be that difference-making type of running back that wasn't going to cost him a whole lot, because maybe they didn't view giving up Kiko Alonzo to be a whole lot again, because maybe he was a luxury, and that allows them to address other positions this offseason, both via free agency and the draft. Allows them to let CJ Spiller go, allows them to focus on maybe trying to bring in another quarterback to compete with EJ Manuel for that starting job. I'm just not really sure. There's like a lot of things when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. I'm not really sure. It's hard to figure out. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they acquired an older, more expensive running back in a year where a running back class in the draft was really deep and really loaded, and all the while traded away a younger, cheaper defensive star that they had traded or drafted. If your defense was that good in 2014, maybe with better defensive mind in Rex Ryan and a Kiko Alonzo coming back in 2015, maybe they'd be the best defense in the NFL, and that'd be enough to at least get you sniffing the playoffs. I don't know. Like I said, I could see some of the reasons for this trade from the Buffalo Bills standpoint, but again, with it being Buffalo, with it being the Bills, there's just a lot of elements of this that leave me scratching my head.